Hi, my name is Ahmed, and this is a video on calculating mortgages and rent for real estate finance. That's the class's name. But we all know how to calculate rent. Let's suppose you're renting an apartment for $1,000 a month. That's simply going to be $1,000 times 12, which will be $12,000 a year in costs for renting. But what if you want to buy a 2-bedroom condo, or a $150,000 house, or maybe even an entire apartment building for, let's say, $200,000? How much would that cost per month? And that's pretty simple to figure out. So the first thing you need to understand is that you need to save up 20% to get a mortgage loan. So if you're getting a $100,000 mortgage, you need to save up 20%, which is $20,000. Or let's say you want to buy a house for $150,000, you would have to save up 20%, or $30,000. And the same thing for a $200,000 property. You would need to save up 20%. If you save up less than 20%, you would have to pay a PMI, or mortgage insurance, which is an extra few $100 a month for no reason, that you're paying for insurance in case you default to the bank. So let's say you save up this 20% to get a $100,000 loan. Your loan would actually only be $80,000, because it would be $100,000 minus the 20% that you saved up. So a $100,000 loan, a $100,000 house is actually only a $80,000 loan. And same thing with a $150,000 house. It would only be a $120,000 loan after you give the bank their 20%. Banks usually want 20% banks usually want 20% to accept you for a loan. You're more likely to be accepted and be qualified for a loan if you save up this 20%. And it's to make sure that you're serious about buying a house. So these are the real loan amounts after you pay the bank the 20%. So let's calculate how much these loan amounts would actually be. So the $100,000 2-bedroom condo would only be $80,000. The $150,000 house would only be a $120,000 loan, and the $200,000 apartment building would only be a $160,000 loan after we pay the 20%. So let's write down these loan values. So that's 80,000. I'm just gonna put a K, which is another way to say 1,000. And this is 120,000, and this is 160,000 after the loan. So all you need to know are these financial terms: the present value, the number of periods, the future value, the interest, and you will calculate the payment in this problem to figure out the payment. This is what you're calculating for every single one of these problems. present value, number of periods, future value, interest, and payment. And these are the 5 basic and most important categories in finance, which I will show you on the financial calculator. There's 2 types of financial calculators which are most common for the finance major, which is the BA2 calculator, which is the most common, and then there's the HP12C. I have the HP12C on here, which works just as good. But for this, the present value will simply be negative 80,000. I like to make it negative because you're less likely to come up with an error when you're doing different types of problems. And for the number of periods, N is simply 30 years, which is a usual mortgage. You could even get a 40-year mortgage to make your payment even lower. But let's say it's a 30-year mortgage, so it would be 30 times 12. And that would be 360 for your N. Your future value is 0, and your interest, let's say, is just an average 5%, but you would have to divide that by the number of months. And that's all you have to do, and you just compute the payment. And that's it. It's that simple. We can do the same for the rest of the problems to set them up. Negative 120K, 360 for the number of periods. Future value will be 0. Interest 5 divided by 12 months. And again, for this last problem, negative 160K, N is 360, future value is 0, interest 5 divided by 12. Alright, now let's just try to simply calculate this in the HP12C calculator. Alright, so to clear this, we have to press F, clear. Alright, now $80,000, make this a little bigger. So $80,000 negative is your present value, and 360 is your N, number of periods, 0 is your future value, and 5 divided by 12 is your interest. And you simply compute your payment, which is $429.46 a month on average that you would have to pay to the bank per month for a mortgage, compared to the $1,000 a month. But of course, you would also have to add homeowners insurance, which isn't too much. It's only 2.5% of the property's value, which I'll show you in a minute. But let's just finish calculating the rest of these properties. And quickly, these 5 things up here, the NIPV, present value, PMT, which is payment, and FV, which is future value, these are the 5 most common and basic buttons in finance, which you have to use. Anyways, let's clear this again. 120,000 will be the present value. 360 is the number of periods. 0 is the future value. And 5 divided by 12 is the interest. And the payment for this will be $644.19. Alright, now let's say for a whole apartment building that we want to buy for pretty cheap, I'm guessing. For $160,000 will be your present value. 360 will be your number of periods. 0 future value. 5 divided by 12 is your interest. And compute the payment. And that'll be $858.91. And it's that simple, just using these 5 financial buttons in the HP 12C Financial Calculator. And these buttons are in your TI-83 calculator and in many other types of calculators as well. Alright, so these are your monthly payments to the bank that you will be making for these different types of properties. So if you decide to buy a 2-bedroom condo, which costs $100,000, you would have to save up $20,000 first, and then for the remaining $80,000 loan, you would only pay this much a month to the bank. And same thing for a $150,000 house, you would have to save up $30,000. And you would have to save up $40,000 to buy a $200,000 house, unless you have a really good credit and you want to pay PMI insurance for no reason. Oh yeah. So these are your monthly payments, and if you we can do an example where I can show you if you decided to get a 40-year payment. So instead of this 30 times 12, if you decided to get a 40-year mortgage, that would be, what's 40 times 12? Right, 480. So then your monthly payment would be even lower. Where's the HP calculator? $480. Alright, let's calculate this one as $480 for the number of periods. So that'll be 80,000 as the present value. 480 for the number of periods. 0 for the future value. 5 divided by 12 for the interest. And compute the payment, and you have an even lower payment of $385.76 to the bank per month. So imagine how much you could be saving versus renting $1,000 a month. But let me show you how to calculate homeowners insurance. So homeowners insurance will be 2.5%. That's what it is in the state of Illinois. It must vary by state. So let's say a property cost $100,000. You would have to pay 2.5% times the cost of your property. So for a $100,000 property, that would be $2,500. But that's over the whole course of the whole year. So you can divide that by 12. And that's only $208 a month. So then your total cost would be $385.76 plus $208.33, and that's $594.09 you would be paying a month for the same thing as an apartment, really, a 2-bedroom condo. And let's see how much you would be saving. $1,000 minus the 594.09, and that is roughly about $406 cheaper per month for the same amount of living space. And we can calculate how much interest we'll be paying to the bank too, and that's really simple. If it's $80,000 loan, and let's say you have 5% interest, it would simply be 80,000 times 0.05. Which will be $4,000. So in total, you would lose $84,000. $4,000 to the in interest to the bank, and it's that simple, right? Now you know how to calculate how much you're going to be paying per month for different types of loans. Thanks.